So let's move on with the GUI, and what we're going to do now is we're going to deal with page activity. Remember that the person enters their stats and their name in the first screen, and then it leads them onto this second screen where they're going to be able to record what they do with each of the machines in the gym. So that's what we're going to do with this page. Now this is a bit of a more complicated page, so once again it's going to take 2 videos, and I won't perhaps go as slowly as I did with the first one because much of what we do is very similar, but I think it's going to take 2 videos to do this because it's a slightly more complicated layout than we've used in the previous screen, different types of controls and so forth. So I'm saying that we've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows. Once again we're doing 2 columns, so that's a very straightforward thing. We don't have to get into anything with that. I think I said 2 columns on this. No, I said 3 columns because I wanted this one. That's right, so 3 columns. So this title here takes up 2, and this one's in the third of the screen there. So that's what we'll plan on. Right, so as before, what we're going to do is we're going to set up our grid, and I'm going to put a margin in around the whole of the grid so that it never butts straight up to the edge of the screen. So 5 point margin. It's not pixels, it's not quite point, it's a strange measurement, but it's 5 of something that we're going to put around the grid. Now once again what we're going to do is we're going to say that we're going to have a stack panel inside our grid. I'm going to do the same as before, and we're going to make our background color here on the stack panel corn silk, which is there already, which that's good. And now we can start to put our grid in, which will actually hold the controls. Great, so we've now got a grid. So what we'll do next is I'll put in the definition, and sometimes I add a little comment there to say what I'm doing. So grid elements. Now I think that's worth you doing too, but maybe change your words please, so that you're using comments, and this is an attention to detail part of the scoring where you've nailed it. You've said to anybody that wants to read this is going to understand what's going on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the grid row definitions and column definitions over from my working app here, and then talk them through for you as you understand, so you understand what's happening. Right, so there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So Paul, you said there were going to be 7 layers of controls, but what I've done is I've put a couple of spares in. It's very, very useful to do that, and if you don't use them they don't affect anything, but if you need them it's a lot easier to fix it when you've got some spares to do it. So let's look at this particular page in terms of its height. It's saying that I've got 5 plus 5, etc. So 5, 10, 12, 15, 17, 19, 21, 23, 25. So effectively this page has been split up into 25 row elements, heights. And I'm saying that this first one, index 0, is going to get 2 of the 25, and the last one is going to get 5 of the 25, is going to get a 5th of the whole of the page. And that's what we do. Now our columns are going to be exactly the same width in each. You can see them up there. I'm saying that's there. And we're not seeing anything inside our rows yet because we haven't defined any controls. Now obviously, as you will understand, the first thing that we do is we put in the comments for each of the rows, but I'm going to do that as I go along this time rather than delaying what you look at. So there's row index 0, and that's the title row. So we're saying that it spans 3 columns this time. It goes right across the 3 columns. It's a text block, it's got a header style, it's got a margin, an additional margin applied to the one that's in the stack panel. And for example, if I did that, you'd see a big difference. So we've got 5, and the words that are in that label or text block are interactivities. So that's pretty straightforward, isn't it? Right, we start to go on next to some more interesting controls, which are going to be the controls which allow us to select a machine. So let's go into our next set of controls. So this control set is going to be, as you remember, a block and a combo box. There's a drop-down combo box, and that's in one column, and this spans 2. So you can see we can weight things and give them a layer of or a proportion of the screen in terms of width as well as height. So I'm just going to paste this in for you, and then we'll talk it through. So I'll try and do this every time so that we're always sort of lined up with the code and the interface. I keep forgetting to do that. So once again, I've put my code commentary in there, and then I've set a stack panel. Of course I have. I'm stack panel king. I've said this has to go into the grid row 1, the second row of the set that we've got. Text block, and it's going to be a static resource again, single column label style, which is what we're using throughout. And the text of that label or text block is machine. Then we've got the end of the text block. Then we start a new a stack panel, which is in grid row 1, and it starts in grid column 1, but it spans 2 columns, so it'll go from 1 into that one. So 0, 1, 2. So it starts in grid column 1. If I highlight that, you see it highlights there, and it spans the 2 columns. We define a combo box, say it's just another control that we use in WPF. We've got a special style for it, which is here, and we've given it a name, because when the user changes things in this text, in this combo box, we want that to be detected by the system when there's something that's changed. We want to be able to load things into it by its name. So you can see that it's important that this has a name. X is the namespace, and name is the name of this particular control, machines combo. And that's the style we use everything. It would be person, text box, and so forth. So we use that style now for our naming. So let's move on and put the second set of controls in for this video, which are going to be this one, and it's slightly different again. You can see that I've got, this time, the 2 column span is here and the single column span is here. So let's do that one next. So I've pasted the control into the space, into the editing space. This is the editing panel or the IDE. And what we've got here is we've now got these controls here. Right, so I pick it up here with the first stack panel, which should be very familiar. I'm putting it into grid row 2, which is the 3rd row. I'm seeing that it's going to span 2 columns. So if I pick up this stack panel here, you can see that it spans 2 columns. Okay, it's in grid row 2, column span 2, and I'm going to put a text block in there with this style that we know, that we like. And this time I want to give it a name. Why would I give a label a name? Because I hope that when we implement it, what I'll do is that if the machine is not the treadmill, we'll hide this, because it's only the treadmill that has an inclination. You can't incline any of the other machines. This would make our code really, really sophisticated, and I would award this additional marks because of the sophistication of making something disappear when it's not needed. Weighted is the title, and then we move on to the text box, closing tags. Then the next one. Right, so stack panel again, grid row 2, same as above, grid column 2 is the starting point, 0, 1, 2. Vertical alignment is center, horizontal alignment is center. That's to try and get this little text, this checkbox, to appear right in the middle of this area that it's got. We then put the checkbox itself, just another control. We're saying vertical alignment center, font size is 36. I have to be honest that the implementation of checkboxes is not good in WPF. It's not as sophisticated yet as it could be. It will be, I'm sure, in the future. But at the moment you have to fiddle about with it to get it to look the same as you want it to look, and to kind of line up is hard, but this is how I achieved it in this one. So we've now got a name for that, which is the inclined checkbox, closing tag for the stack panel. So that's quite sophisticated, this layer, and it would be really hard to get this to happen and be responsive in a forms design. Modern mobile applications do this sort of thing a lot, where you're saying, I want this to take 2/3 of the row here and 1/3 here, and you do this in modern responsive design for mobile applications, be they for phones or tablets. That's what you do. Okay, let's finish off this video with the next set of controls, and that's going to be the level and the selection combo that allows us to select a particular level. Oh look, it's the same as this. So what I can do is I can use the advantages we have with WPF and take some shortcuts by copying this and pasting it in here. Right, I just have to change some data to reflect what we're doing. Select level, grid row 3, grid row 3, level, and it says, uh-oh, you have a nothing until I get a unique name. So if I now do select there, I promised I would try and do that, I keep forgetting. Levels, and it says, okay, you can have it now, and here I have my controls. So you may have noticed that I had a blue underliney thing on the levels combo and it didn't like it. It said it can't find the name, and that's usually easily fixed by just deleting the name and recreating it, because it then picks it up that it's something different. So that's just a quick fix. Sometimes you see it, sometimes it's dead easy just to change it. Don't know why, just hasn't, maybe it's in a bad mood. And now it likes what we've done. Great advantage of WPF is that so much of this is repetitive that copying and pasting is useful. However, I'm going to put a warning on it. It's really easy to miss out some of this essential detail and hunt forever for saying, where did I hide that? But when you get it right, and as I said before, it's largely a matter of practice and getting used to the interface and how it works. When you get it right, it is very useful in terms of making some very quick, fast code that's guaranteed to look right, because you set the styles before, you set your columns and rows before, so it's bound to look right when you do it. So we'll move on to the rest of the page controls in the next video, but that's us set up these ones, and let's move on.